It is really a pleasure and an honor to be here. I'd like to start out my presentation by asking you a question. And the question is, how can a chronically underperforming school become one of the most successful academically in an entire state? And that is really the story of John Hersey High School. Before I begin the slide presentation, I want to give you a little bit of history about why we were chronically underperforming. And it was because we were a really nice place, we had a really good time, and we liked each other. But academics didn't necessarily factor into the equation. John Hersey High School is one of 6 comprehensive high schools in a high school district in suburban Chicago, northwest suburbs. We're a district of about 12,500 students. Hersey has about 2,000 students, give or take a little bit. And the other schools range in size from about 1,600 to maybe 2,200. If you believe in research about SES, there is a certain level of predictability, and according to our socioeconomic status, we should have been, out of the 6 schools, somewhere in the middle. I got to Hersey in 2005, but about 1999, the superintendent called the principal in and said, "Could you at least pretend to care about academics? Humor me. I need you to go back to your building and figure out, all I want you to do is meet your SES expectation. Nothing more, but coming in 5th or sometimes 6th just isn't appropriate." So she went back to the building and met with the administration team and said, "The superintendent gave me a challenge. I am clueless. I have no idea how to do this. Anybody have any ideas?" And that was the beginning of the curricular reform at John Hersey High School. One of the division heads, English Fine Arts division heads, who's still a division head today, had an idea about a curricular alignment. And he said, "I have an idea. I don't know if it'll work." And she said, "Anything, try it." And so we integrated this curricular alignment idea, which I'll be speaking a lot about. And the first full cohort that went through with that aligned curriculum took the ACT in 2003. All of the juniors in the state of Illinois take the ACT as juniors. And this is what happened initially. A 3-year gain from Explore, which is given in the 8th grade, to the ACT, and you can see the difference in achievement percentage-wise. The light pink is the US average, and the dark pink is John Hersey High School average. These are with our low-achieving at-risk students. Now, John talked a little bit about tracking, and I'm a huge supporter of it, but tracking for academic success, one of the things we've done is ensure that all of our students take the same curriculum and have the same access to curriculum at whatever instructional level they are capable of being successful. And I'll talk a little bit about that more. So that's the gains for our low-achieving students, and these are the gains for our college prep or higher-achieving students. Again, you can see the difference between Explore, which is given in 8th grade, or the average 9th grade entry score, and 2 years later, we test actually in April on the ACT. What we do in our district is the 8th graders take Explore. As I said, they're not in our district, but we make sure all our feeder schools have the ACT, and they take it in November. One year they took it the day after Halloween. Guess what those scores looked like? They weren't great, but they had a lot of sugar on them. And we use the Explore score for placement purposes. It's kind of a rubric. We take the composite score and we double it, and we add the math score, the English score, or whatever, and we use that for placement. We have 3 levels. We have a prep level, which is the level that we need to get the kids the remediation that they need. Then we have a college prep level and an honors or an AP level. And all kids take the same courses at whatever level possible. So the idea that we came up with and has been implemented since the year 2000 was this alignment we call it vertical, horizontal, and diagonal alignment. Now, if you want to make changes in your institution, I know you are not naive. But if you want to make changes quickly, forget it. It's not going to happen. We started our alignment in 2000. We started in English only. All teachers were teaching the same curriculum, same outcomes. Obviously, at the honors level, it was a little more sophisticated. All of our freshmen take written and oral communication. All of our freshmen take human geography. All of our freshmen take biology. And then they take math, whatever level they're at. But in this alignment process, we started in English. Freshmen took an aligned curriculum. Sophomores took an aligned curriculum. Juniors, we got our first cohort of results, and there was an increase in scores. And my staff said, beginner's luck. In 2004, we had another bump in ACT scores. And it was, well, maybe it was beginner's luck, and it's okay if the English department does it, as long as I don't have to do it. Does that sound familiar? Lots of obstacles to change. Obviously, our teachers tend to work in isolation. They want to have academic freedom, so you can't tell me what to teach. We are very rooted in our opinions, and we always use, I can't do it because we don't have enough money. It's not true. They are really afraid of being creative. And one of the things I found is, if I say to a teacher, you need to do something differently, their interpretation is, well, then that implies that I've been doing something wrong. And that is not necessarily the case. It's just that our populations are so incredibly different than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago, and so on. So this acceptance for the need to change becomes critical. Obviously, if you want to change your institution, you have to deal with attitudes, actions, and what I call artifacts. A lot of times we say, I've restructured my school, I changed my bell schedule. That is not systemic change. That is what we call tinkering around the edges. It does a slight modification, makes us feel better, but there is no nexus to that and deep-rooted academic change. So we find that most school change is really superficial, and we become very defensive about, well, why are you saying that my school isn't good enough? And remember, we're all experts in education because we all went to school, and so we all have opinions about how it should be done. So we started thinking, and about the time I got to Hersey in 2005, we had really 3 good years of increased achievement in the English part of the ACT, and it was time to spread it out among the other departments of the school. I learned early in my career that you can never change anybody's beliefs. You believe what you want, but I can influence behavior. So if I say to my teachers, I'd like a common assessment in US history each quarter. All US history teachers, I want one common assessment. Now, when you see the power of that common assessment, when teachers have the opportunity to collaborate together to find out, well, how did you do? All my kids missed question 4. How come your kids got it right? Was I teaching that? That kind of collaboration translates so many times into student success. And once you see that your students are successful, then your beliefs tend to change. And so what we really are dealing with is the context for change. 1999, before and after at John Hersey High School, but also throughout the country. Remember, in 1983, everybody talks about the nation at risk. The sky is falling. Our educational systems are terrible. We cannot compete globally. And we heard those same things this morning, so things haven't changed a lot. We said, well, what we'll do is we'll increase the rigor of our instructional practices. We'll drill and kill more. We'll go back to basics. We'll teach to the test. And then No Child Left Behind had the audacity to come on the scene, and we all became very defensive. And although I certainly am not a huge fan of it, nor am I a fan of more testing, What it did make us do is look at data, so that even if your overall school scores were strong, if you disaggregated the data, you'd find out that your at-risk students didn't do particularly well, your second language kids, your minority kids, your economically disadvantaged, your special ed, whatever it is. And it made us look at that data. This is a graph of the achievement gap. And it's kindergarten through 12th grade. And if you notice on the far left over there, that the difference, obviously, if you are a disadvantaged student academically for whatever social reasons, it just keeps getting bigger. And I do have a solution to closing the achievement gap. And my solution, which is not satisfactory, is stop teaching everybody and let the disadvantaged kids catch up. But that probably isn't going to happen. But to my way of thinking, that's the only way you can ever close it. So what we have to do is we have to get smarter about the way we influence those students who are not doing as well as our higher performing students. So what we did at Hersey is we established what we call the 7 essential principles. And these are the principles that guide us in pretty much everything that we do. The first one is that all students take a rigorous college prep course of studies. All students college prep, structured around a common core curriculum. This is rigorous and appropriate in all 4 years of instruction, and it also deals with, you guys have SEL, social emotional learning, are you? That's a big influence in Illinois. So we would address the SEL issues as well. Second is that the student is the center of the instructional design framed by alignment principles. What are the students learning? When are they learning it? This is a huge paradigm shift. We need to develop students' basic and critical thinking skills and content knowledge. There's a vertical scope and sequence. There's a horizontal content reinforced cross-curricularly, and there's diagonal movement, which is student mobility, which we will see some other slides on. The third essential principle is that the curriculum must be content-based and interdisciplinary. And I'm huge on interdisciplinary instruction. I remember I have a credential in math and English, and I remember teaching some young man in an algebra class as a freshman. In his sophomore year, he was in my honors English class, and we were studying Richard III, and I was talking about English history. And he raised his hand and he said, "I don't get it." And I said, "What don't you get?" "I don't get how my last year's math teacher is my this year's English teacher who's talking about history." And that to me was my Kodak aha moment, that kids don't see any connections with curriculum at all. And so for me, interdisciplinary becomes extremely important. Our curriculum is both contemporary and historical in scope, and it needs to be referenced to standards as objects for analysis and critique. 4, skills development will be given cross-curricular emphasis and will be aligned to accountability measures. We use the EPAS system, which is Explore, Plan, ACT, and also work keys. What we do in our district is, as I said, all the kids take Explore primarily for placement. Their freshman year, they take the plan. Their sophomore year, they take the IACT, which is a retired ACT test, and then the junior year, they take the real one. What we do after they take those exams is we do an item analysis, and we actually develop matrices and curricular units to support the instruction, not of test prep, but of the skills required to be successful. We look at basic literacies, and we provide what we call a seamless integration, referencing curriculum. The fifth, I love this thing. I'm a little weird. What can I say? The fifth essential principle is that students' critical thinking will be developed through deliberate teaching of conflicting interpretations and exploration of controversy. A couple of years ago, I had a Stanford researcher who came to school and talked to all freshmen. Remember, I said all freshmen take biology. She talked about stem cell research, highly controversial. This year, during the presidential hubbub, Rick Santorum called me and wanted to speak at our school before we went to Christian Academy, which I thought we're sort of a hotbed of liberalism. And well, anyway. So Rick Santorum came. We had the pickets outside, and I got a lot of threatening emails and a lot of angry parents. I know you're a liberal school. I know you're open to all ideas, but how can you allow that man? Now, that was their perspective. The truth of the matter is it was wonderful for the kids to hear, number one, a presidential candidate, and number two, they developed very compelling questions, which they asked him, and he tried to answer. So it was a really good experience for the kids. We are not afraid of controversy, but we do encourage it. 6 is a design-based and purposefully structured instructional model will depend upon the collaboration of faculty and staff as they work in their professional learning communities. We have what we call late days every week. Our colors are orange and brown. So every Thursday we have an orange day where the school starts at 7:30, but on orange days, faculty comes at 7:30, students come at 8:30. So we have a 1-hour delayed start where all teachers work in professional communities, professional learning communities, where they either work together in course alikes or in interdisciplinary teams or whatever they might be on, and they usually are on 2 or 3 teams. 5 times a year we have a brown day, which is a double late day, which means that our teachers come at 7:30, our kids come at 9:30. In addition to those PLC meetings, we also have, I think, 3 institute days where teachers have an opportunity to get together and plan. And then during the summer, we have a plethora of summer institutes where teachers get together and work on curricular issues. And finally, the 7th principle is that a high school is a learning community, one in which students develop an understanding of the civic purpose of education. So we let those principles guide what we do. And this is kind of a conceptual outline of what it looks like. This is the vertical to diagonal alignment. Basic or prep level, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, they have the opportunity in 9th grade, when they learn those appropriate skills, to move up to 10th grade, 11th grade, and so on, and certainly general to honors. To give you an idea of whether or not diagonal movement really works, I do keep my class loads in prep classes lower than in regular classes, so there is a cost there. But I have about maybe 12, 13 kids in prep level classes. It's hard to say, 4 years ago, I guess, the incoming freshmen, I had something like 45 kids in prep, and they have to be co-enrolled, prep English, they're also in prep human geography. I had about 45 kids in the prep level. By the senior year, so fast forward 4 years, those 45 kids, I had 9 kids remaining in prep. So they had all moved up. I had 100, when I got to Hersey, we had honors human geography, but if you know, College Board has an advanced placement human geography exam. So I said, well, why don't we just turn it into an AP class? Teachers said, yeah, okay. So our kids who are in AP human geography as freshmen, I don't require them to take the test, but most of them do. And we have about a 95% pass rate in human geography. Kids love it. Anyway, we have about a few years ago, we had 113 kids. We have about 500 kids at each grade level. So we had about 113 kids in human geography, AP human geography. The next year, the kids take world history. In their US AP world history, that 113 went up to 198 students. So you can see a lot of that diagonal movement from level to level, whether they're prep to college prep to AP. This is what the vertical and horizontal alignment looks like. So you have English, 9, 10, 11, and this only goes to 11th grade because 12th grade, I just didn't deal with that, although we do a lot of stuff with our seniors. Department A might be English. Then we try to integrate with social studies and with the other subjects, and usually the other departments we're talking about is biology. All our freshmen take biology. All our sophomores take chemistry. It was not like that when I got to Hersey. And all our juniors take physics. It was definitely not like that when I got to Hersey. When I got to Hersey, we had 2 graduation requirements, one for the college prep kids and one for anybody who didn't want to exert themselves. And that looked like all students had to take biology, but then there was a class called physical science. Nobody wanted to teach it, the kids hated it, but 1 year I'm done with science. The college prep kids take chemistry and physics because the state standards say in order to get all the physical science standards, you have to do it with chemistry and physics. You can't just do it with one class. So I didn't change graduation requirements, but we're just not teaching physical science, so the kids had no choice, but they had to go into chemistry and physics. We developed prep level classes in chemistry, prep level classes in physics, and just as a side note, this year I had 3 students with accommodations get 30 on the science, 30, and one got a 33 on the science portion of the ACT, which is pretty high for a prep level kid. Although the teacher told me, yeah, but I also had somebody get an 8. I said, don't advertise it. We developed the reason against chemistry, prep chemistry. The teacher said they can't do the math. I said, find math that they can do. They will learn it if they need to, and that's exactly what they did. Again, we had a lot of collaboration between the science and the math teachers, and it's worked very well. And then this is pretty much the way the skills look. This is 9th grade. So you can see the 1 is you know how the ACT has that skills bands. And so the level 1 is 1 to 15, which is the skill band, well, multiple skill bands. And that for the prep level kid or the basic kid, that's the review focus. The 16 to 19 skill band is primary, and then the stretch band is 20 to 23. You can see how that moves up across the curriculum. If you're a general or college prep kid, the review focus is larger. The primary focus is equivalent to the secondary focus of the prep kids. And then the secondary focus is the 24 to 27 band. So we're always pushing it. If you look at the 10th grade, pretty much the same. It's just that we're stretching those bands. 11th grade, that's what it looks like. So the review focus is huge. Primary focus at the honors level is much smaller because they've covered all the skills, because that's the 32 to 36 skill band. We have core and core and alignment. Again, you can see the alignment principles are vertical, horizontal, and diagonal. And the common core that we teach all kids, as I said, are math, science, English, and social science. And then you can see that the AIC nexus is the assessment, instruction, and curriculum, the materials, and so we use a lot of authentic primary source material, and so on. And that's pretty much the way the skills instruction nexus works. So we don't know if instruction starts first, if assessment starts, so they kind of drive each other. And we're always looking at this because we are a skills-based curriculum, but those skills spiral from year to year and from course to course. So let's get to the ACT. What I did is I created a 5-year comparison of John Hersey High School compared to the state of Illinois. And I'm just going to go through these pretty quickly. In 2007, our average math score was 23.2. In 2011, 24.0. You can see compared to the state. Now, when I got to Hersey, they had just adopted a math curriculum. I didn't really like it as an integrated curriculum, but oh well, that's what we had. So our scores have been somewhat depressed in math achievement. And the integrated math program was totally against everything we stand for as far as curricular alignment, because it was only for that middle student, that lower to middle student. Didn't address the honor student. The honor students were in a more traditional track. So even if you wanted to move up, you couldn't, because we gave you what I call a deprivation model. We gave you a different curriculum, so you were totally disadvantaged. Last year, we did a curriculum audit, and we're going to a more traditional math program, and I'll show you some of those results later. Here are our reading scores. Again, these are the overall scores compared to the state average. Science, which is really science reasoning, it's really not science. English, we started it in English. The gains are huge. The scores are very, very high. And there's our composite scores. Saying all that, I really don't care anything about those scores, but this I do care about. I care about the growth of our students. I care about where they come in and where they exit at the end of the 3 years. They don't exit the school, but how we assess them on the ACT. So in math, in 2012, we had a 7.1 growth. Well, I just got back my ACT scores, and I am kind of a numbers nerd, and so even though I haven't gotten the results from the ACT, I crunched the numbers, and our growth in math was over 8 points. That is huge. So I really like our new curriculum. I'm really happy with. Highest growth ever for John Hersey High School, and that's the way it looks. The dark blue band is the entry score. The light blue band is growth. Now, you will see in these slides a little bit of variation, but what you're really looking for, obviously, is an upward trajectory. In science, we're number 1 in our district. We were the first school in the district to ever break a 6-point barrier in science, and this is this traditionally underperforming school, so we're real proud of it. And we have, unofficially again, in science, I crunched those numbers, and it looks like we have a 6.6 growth. I still have 8 scores of students with accommodations who haven't come in yet. Now, we had more than 8 kids who had accommodations, but I just haven't gotten back 6 scores. Might drop a little bit, but it's pretty close. And that's the way science looks. In reading, we're number 1 in the district. Our highest growth was 8.1. Last year we were 8.0, just a slight drop. 8.1 is the highest recorded growth ever on any individual subject test, according to the ACT, in reading. And that's what our reading growth looks like, so you can see it's very, very high. And then we get to English. The ACT called me and was pretty upset because they had to renorm their growth charts because we broke 9 points. They didn't think it was ever going to be possible, but we did have a 9.2 growth in reading, entry to exit, and that is really high. So we're very proud of that. And then finally, the composite score, we had a 7.5 growth, and that is the highest ever recorded by the ACT by any school, and that's what those scores look like. So what is this or what is this not? There are always those naysayers, but this is not a lockstep curriculum. It is not test prep, but any of you tell me if you ever teach something that you really don't want to assess. Obviously, we are always not teaching the test, but teaching what we are going to be testing. It is not the de-skilling of teachers, but as a matter of fact, the teachers have grown extraordinarily because of the richness of the curriculum, because of the opportunities for collaboration. It is not top-down, and it's certainly not one-size-fits-all. But we graded ourselves with straight A's, but we're a little egotistical, I guess. We certainly have access for all, assimilation of all, college readiness skills, articulation across the building, assessments tied to college readiness skills, and achievement, but not at the expense of activities. And that is something that I have to stress. Our music, our very active school. Now, there's an organization called CADCO, which is the Chicago Area Directors of Curriculum and Instruction, and they are all suffering from what we call the Hersey effect. And this is the way it looks like. This is the demographics of the district's ACT performance. This is the district, not Hersey, against the highest it is, again, the highest scores in the suburbs. And that's because a lot of the schools are now emulating what we've done. So the little red box over there, that's Hersey, and those are the other schools in CADCA. It's about 130 schools. The green arrows are the growth arrows. And again, the one on the left is, or I guess the right on that side, is John Hersey High School. The other green arrows are other schools in the district. This one is expected performance. And that's how we got started on this initiative to begin with, because we weren't meeting those expectations. Here we are, our expected performance. John Hersey High School is the highest, but you can see that we're bringing up the other schools in the district. Now, real quickly, another program that feeds right into this is the ACT. We were talking a little earlier about Stevenson High School. These are 102 schools who are taking the ACT. The line separates the above expected performance against the below expected performance. The arrow shows we're number 2. We're very proud of number 2. Stevenson High School is number 1. If you know Rick DeFore and his work, that's Stevenson. I won't get into that, but we're nipping at their heels, but we're not there yet. We've had huge AP enrollment increases. This is a history of enrollment at Hersey High School. 2006, we tested 559 students. This last year, 2012, we don't have the results yet, but we tested 822 students, and then you can see the number of exams that they took. They went from just under 900 to over 1,400 exams. This is a chart of the schools in the district of AP enrollment for over a 4-year period. So we started in 2006 with 1,153 students, and in 2009 we had 1,634. Those are seats. So, is it time to celebrate? Yes. I didn't have time to talk about a lot of the other programs. We've started a Mandarin program because we're very committed to globalism. We had a federal grant until the feds pulled it. We have a very strong Project Lead the Way program. We have a huge, huge music program, dance program, a drama program, athletic program. And I just want to end with one story. In 2002, before we gave the first full cohort took the ACT under this new paradigm, we decided that we would celebrate the number of students who got 30 or higher on the ACT. And we bought them all t-shirts. Now, this is before I got to Hersey. We had 11 students. And those 11 students were embarrassed because they didn't want to show off that they were smart and that they would wear the t-shirts. This fall, 2011, yeah, it's 11-12 school year, we bought t-shirts for students who scored 30 or higher on the ACT, 110. So it gets expensive, but it was worth it. The culture of the school is one of academic achievement. They're very, very proud of it. So my advice to you is focus on results. Good luck on all of what you do. I know you all do great things too. And thank you very much.